Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the 10-Minute Marvel Podcast, and happy Daredevil Born Again Season 2 month. Did you forget that was coming out this month?
I did. I forgot. I didn't even realize it was March until today.
Well, I mean, it's not too bad.
I mean, on my
you only missed
timeline,
one day.
that works well. Yeah.
But we're not going to be talking about Daredevil Born Again yet. We'll wait until we get closer to that release date. We instead are going to be talking about a couple of different theories around, I would say primarily around Spider-Man Brand New Day. Oh, yes, it is. As well as a little bit of a Doomsday and rumors, news, of course, all that jazz as well.
Jazz hands.
So, the classic rock of the podcast. We have Petter here, and the jazz hands of the podcast, my co-host.
Good segue. All right. It's Greg, everybody, at the jazz hands. Feeling it. All right. I did have my note.
And we lost Greg. So, we just have to remember Greg and his jazz hands the way that we knew them best, through really choppy internet, where we really never knew when Greg was going to come back, or if he would. But this, unfortunately, was the last time we ever saw him. Introducing my new co-host, Gerg.
Now, this is Gerg.
All right, Gerg, do you want to do the spiel?
Sure. If you can hear me.
I can hear you.
All right, great. This is Gerg, everybody. Thanks for joining. There is no longer Greg. It is only Gerg. If you're looking for ways to support this absolutely ridiculous bit that we have going, you can find us on our YouTube channel. Search 10-Minute Marvel there. Give us a like and thumb smash that subscribe button. Find and follow us on Facebook and the other thing with an X. Hashtag 10Min Marvel there. And of course, you can leave a rating and review wherever you get your friendly neighborhood podcasts from. Zool, are we going to be doing probably news first?
You know what? Since it's your first day here, Gerg, let's do news first. All right. Enough of that stupid bit. Greg is having internet issues.
Am I really? I went out for a little bit, I think, yeah, but
yep.
I have full strength right now. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and it's showing me that you have questionable connectivity to this Zoom. So first one up, Sony, actually both of them are Sony related. Spider-Man Noir, it's going to be rated TV 14. So I don't know what people are expecting that to be, but I think that sounds about right for a noir sort of thing.
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
I didn't even know what there was a thing of TV 14, I guess.
Yes.
Well, sure. I guess it makes sense.
The other bit from Sony is that, and I couldn't find the exact thing I saw earlier today, but Sony has updated or added to or done something with basically their promotional site for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Oh, yes, it is. This, of course, has led to speculation, and there already was an expectation that the trailer was going to be coming out this month. I'm hopeful that could mean that we get a Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer this week.
That'd be great. I thought it was going to be last week, and so I guess I'll get my hopes up again.
Excellent.
Please don't crush my hopes again, Petter.
I'll think about it.
Nah, you would. I hope it does come out because I may or may not have watched a trailer that may or may not have been a leaked trailer, even though I do not like watching those. And again, I do not know if that was it. It looked interesting. I will say it looked interesting.
That's good to hear. I did not watch the leaked trailer. I have avoided them thus far.
So, I mean, I usually would too, but I don't know. I got tempted, and you were late to the podcast, and I had nothing else to do. So I blame you.
That's completely unreasonable. I'm going to take that out of your pay.
Yeah, well, that's fine. It's
a percentage that I'm going to take from your pay, so it really doesn't change anything.
That gumball that I always wanted, just not going to happen. Fine.
Yes. So those were a couple of news-ish bits. Not a ton either on the rumor front, though we're really going to be diving into rumors here with Spider-Man Brand New Day. coming up, just kind of in a bigger, more theory-focused way. Uh, but the first one is that Benedict Cumberbatch has filmed a scene for Doomsday basically under a unknown or like a name that is intentionally not connected with Doomsday. So not that Benedict's changed his name, but the project he was filming for, people are pretty sure is an alias for Doomsday.
Okay. I was like, what? All right.
Make sense now?
So, yes. I was trying to
This,
think of a really clever like name that sounds like Doomsday, but I couldn't come up with anything. It's too late for that kind of stuff. So,
I mean, it's easier to come up with mispronunciations of Benedict Cumberbatch, so
mm, yeah.
Billy Bob Thundercatch.
It's good you got so many syllables in there that you can work with.
hmm Kind of tying into that, so that rumor was from Murphy's Multiverse, not one of our regular scoopers. But tying into that, we do have a Daniel RPK scoop, which is that Doom's right-hand man in Doomsday is going to be a wizard who uses a sling ring, wears a mask like Doctor Doom, but the mask has a third eye on it. I mean, is that just as simply as that's what Billy Bob Thundercatch filmed?
Uh, Is there anybody that could be? Anybody else?
Hmm. I mean, no, not really. Not that they've set up.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd introduce anybody new to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it seems like Doctor Strange is probably showing up. I mean, even Benedict Cumberbatch had said basically that he was going to be in the film at one point in time. So,
Yeah, and then he kind of backed out of that with the like something's
mhm.
changed. He's in it. We all know he's in it.
Yep,
Give up. Give it up.
yep. Give it up for Billy Bob Thundercatch.
Billy Bob Thundercatch. I'll think of
And
a
the
good one here sometime. You just keep going. I'll think of one to combat yours.
Then the final rumor is from My Time to Shine Hello, and this one is that Thor and Steve Rogers are going to be on a mission to find Loki and the TVA. That's going to kind of be their role for Doomsday.
Wait, whose role?
Thor and Steven Rogers. Actually, just Steve Rogers.
All right.
What do you think?
I
It seems very probable. Like that gives Steve Rogers something to do, and Thor is theoretically off-world, so gives him something to do instead of just being like, "Hey, Thor's back on Earth and he has a kid," and nobody's really talking about it because we don't have enough time in the movie to go through the conversation of when did you get a kid with every single character.
That's fair. And also, like Thor, Loki reunite. I mean, they kind of have to say their goodbyes. It's something, I'd feel like, well, Hemsworth is going to be back again. I don't know what they're going to do with Loki after this, but will he just go back to being Loki kind of after this whole saga's done? Either way, I think the reuniting of brothers makes sense.
Yeah.
And you gotta, yeah, like I said, you gotta give Steve something to do.
Yep.
So,
Something to do. I mean, there's been the rumor out there that Steve has been living in the
pass.
like well, no, in the Fantastic Fours universe. Like that's the
Oh,
one that he ended up in. I don't buy that one. So I
yeah.
think it's gonna just be easier to be like, okay, something's messing with time. Maybe the anchor being from his universe gets stolen out of its cradle, something like that. And now the universe is dying, so he has to ditch the universe while he goes to look for Loki, his and his son. Something like that. I could see that easily being the case.
Okay, I think I thought of this the other day. It was random, but what if it's not old Steve Rogers on that bench and it's actually Doom? Like he's got magic. He can
hmm
do things. He can change himself, and it's to put people on the right trajectory to kind of do his thing. So that would be an interesting twist. So he never comes back, technically. You know, he's
Yeah.
still in the past or still in the other universe. Does that work?
Um,
I mean, it's kind of an empty. It's not empty, but it's like there's. I don't have a way to kind of say what came before and what comes after necessarily, but just that as a plot
I
twist.
think that really would then continue to like there's already people who are like, well, why didn't Steve give the shield to Bucky? And I think that would really continue to kind of undercut Sam Wilson and Anthony Mackie's Captain America.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
true.
opposed to it for that reason.
Yeah, I don't mind that. It's good reasoning, but the idea of would you like to see it? Let's say let's not worry about the Anthony
Right.
Mackie part of it and that's Captain America thing. But would you like to see that type of plot twist or that them to go back to that and kind of retcon it like that?
Mm, I don't
Does it tickle your
know.
fancy?
No, not really. I don't feel like
Oh,
it adds a ton of interest. I'm not sure what the benefit of that is.
well, we don't know, and I don't have it, right? But just
Mhm.
to make that a part of like what he needed to do to get Steve out of the picture somehow, or just continuing maybe to keep him in the background, or to get Captain America, Anthony Mackie's Captain America, set forth on the right path so that maybe Steve isn't such a threat later
Yeah.
or does something. I don't know. But then Steve is supposedly got a kid,
Mhm.
which Doom may be after. So maybe that's why, because he's got to keep him in the past with Peggy. Oh, I
But
don't know.
yeah, it's like if Steve doesn't come to the future, I mean, there's no more Captain America, but you could still have Steve have his kids. So there has to be some plot reason why Doom needs Sam Wilson to be Captain America, or
Right.
maybe needs Bucky not to be Captain America because Bucky can maybe stand up to him in some way or something like that. But either way, like just talking about that it it's impossible for me, I think, to kind of remove the idea that that then undercuts the new Captain America. Whether or not that's the intent of it, like it could just be, man, this is a crazy twist, but it immediately becomes like, well, this this only happened, or people will use it as that, but it will feel like, well, this happened because Doctor Doom did something.
Yeah. Okay. But how does Steve, so does Steve go back in time to that other timeline? Or wait, is he living that out and then he just disappears? Yeah, that's kind of what happens, isn't it?
Hmm.
Okay.
Something like that, yeah.
It's been a hot minute since I've seen that movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was my tangent. Yeah, sorry.
Let's
Keep
move
going.
on to the main topic because it's still just rumor and speculation time. And let's start out with I think the one that well both you and I watched the most recently. This one came from ScreenCrush and kind of the idea of the plot for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Oh yes it is. And this one is a lot.
Mm,
I guess that's the way I would put it. Um, the idea being that this is going to follow along kind of some of the story beats of the second season of the animated Spider-Man series from the mid 90s. So the one that I grew up watching and the one that Greg watched even though he was older.
when I was 35.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is the called the Neogenic Nightmare Saga. That's what it is.
Yes. Yep. So the idea is that Spider-Man's abilities, powers continue to mutate within him, and eventually he grows spider arms and looks much more like an actual spider.
That's the
The,
hard part.
yeah, that's the hard part. There's also one of the things that Colton talked about in this that I think is also a hard pill to swallow. And he even talked about it as like, okay, as a comic, somebody who loves the comics and things like that, it was it wasn't necessarily a theory that he himself even loved, but the idea that basically anybody who gains superpowers is kind of considered to be a mutant. So when you think about it, there's less of a distinction. So like Spider-Man would be considered a mutant because things mutated in him. Versus the traditional kind of the distinction of maybe an enhanced individual versus a mutant.
Yeah, mutate versus mutant, I think is
Hmm.
how he described it.
Yeah. But that it would lead into kind of the future where everybody dislikes mutants. And that would
Well,
include, correct? Or am I wrong on this?
no, no, you're uh Yeah, no, that's everybody. Everybody would be just a mutant. I think that's
Hmm.
what he was saying. So I'm thinking like, yeah, the having six arms or whatever it is,
Hmm.
I to have that in the movie now seems really far out there. Like there's
Yeah.
been nothing on that. Well, hasn't there been talk of this having the black suit or to have these there was talk of like is it going to be a Venom kind of suit that he takes on or a different kind like that darker side of him and maybe it's not that, maybe it's more of this alternate version of him because he's kind of morphing a little bit but they don't go full on like six arms kind of
Yeah.
mutation, and they dull it down just a little bit. Maybe he gets the actual web shooters, something like like
Hmm.
so it's more subtle. Then I could see maybe because I'll like the stuff around that story also kind of does make some sense with the mutants and Kingpin and because it seems like we got some flow of what's happening Daredevil, Punisher, Brand New Day, kind of all there's some common thread there.
Hmm.
So I could see so in that neogenic nightmare, Kingpin starts to kind of I think does he start running things there? Like he's kind of in charge and kind of like he is now, but he's starts trying to round up these mutants. Is that what it or this?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not sold on it, but it is interesting and I could see them pulling parts from it.
Yeah. I I'm like, I don't think it makes sense. Um,
But I mean, you do have a Bruce Banner, Dr. Connors kind of thing.
kind of. I would I think that it ignores some of the element, like he was talking about this, J. Jonah Jameson kind of leading some of the charge of like anti-mutant, which makes sense, but to do a mutant story without potentially more mutants in it, I think is odd. Like we've heard Sadie Sink as Jean Grey, but like in the season 2 of the animated Spider-Man series, you have the full X-Men team in there. And I don't foresee that happening in this film. This isn't going to be a way to be like, the X-Men were always there, sort of thing.
Mm.
So
Right.
it's
Um,
that's the bit I'm struggling with is how do you or and also what do you do with the rest of all these different street level villains that have been rumored to be in this?
okay, that is a fair point. Um, I was thinking if Sadie Sink is Jean Grey,
Hmm.
like mutant there, Ms. Marvel, mutant, but maybe it's not so much about the mutants at this point. Maybe it's kind of that there's a hint of that, but maybe it's also, I mean, Fisk is trying to do any mask, right? The mask and vigilantes thing. So it's that angle, that's where it starts, and then it flourishes a little bit and becomes more of a mutant thing. And we see that kind of unfold. So it's not so heavily about the mutants,
Yeah,
but
but it's also like the everything we've heard about the plot before too is that Fisk and even Vincent D'Onofrio has basically been like, yeah, he's not part of this. We haven't heard rumors of him filming anything for it.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I want to go back to what you said about all those villains, right?
mhm,
It doesn't add up when you see all this talk of these villains like the Scorpion, who you could say is a mutate
mhm,
possibly. I don't actually more it seems like it's more of a I don't know if he's got any extra powers besides just having a powerful suit with the tail kind of thing. But that could be just tech, right? I don't know if they'll
mhm,
use Chitauri tech in that case either or not. But so it's kind of yeah, it kind of debunks it for me right there.
mhm.
Even though, like I said, you got Bruce Banner taking the spot of Dr. Connors, Tremel Tillman, could be
Yep.
William Metzger, and
Or
heading
part of the
that
DO. Yeah.
DODC. Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
So there's certainly elements, and I think it could be
because Sadie could, if she is Jean Grey, she could be going and trying to defeat Metzger, if it's Metzger or whoever
mhm,
Tremel Tillman's character is. She
yep.
could be there for that. Like that's her own side thing.
Hmm.
And Yeah.
Yeah, I think it certainly could pull small elements from this kind of plot and idea. But at the same time, I think there has to be something, it has to be further away from it than kind of this idea and theory was. And who knows, maybe it's that Mr. Negative is using like the what was Aunt May's charity,
Oh,
but basically he's using that to maybe draw in some less fortunate, um, maybe some people who've been outcast from society, mutants potentially, and starting to use them to kind of tilt the gang war in his favor. Something like that. And Sadie Sink's Jean Grey could just be one of those mutants who that he knows about and he's after to try and turn.
yeah. Feast is the place.
Beast, yes.
Food emergency aid, shelter and training. Um, yeah. I kind of, what is it, the Morlocks? Is that
Yeah,
who's underneath?
Morlocks. Yep.
Yeah. That'd be kind of fun because I always like that about the X, like you kind of see those in the X-Men 97 series. Well, the X-Men animated series
Yeah.
from a while ago. I don't know if they came back in the new one.
We saw Leech,
Okay.
and Genosha,
Yeah.
and I think some other ones as well, but yeah, they
Yeah.
weren't like focal points in
Right.
that. So yeah, Morlocks I think could be a really interesting um addition. Just to be like introduce the idea of okay, something's changing in the universe. The people are starting to mutate, but it's a lot of the ones that are a little bit more of a deformity
Hmm.
or that would make it very hard to live out in the open.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything anything
I don't,
else on this one?
um, no, I think if we're no. I think for these theories, I am going to stick with for no other reason besides what I just kind of feel like it's not going to be my number one choice of Fire Star, but Sadie Sink will be Jean Grey. So you can kind of just assume that in my discussions of these theories. So just to kind of put that out there. Um,
Yeah.
Otherwise, I got nothing else on that one. Yeah, I think maybe hints of it could be in there, but it just doesn't quite line up enough with what we've heard and or maybe have seen.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about the second theory? Because it again ties into Spider-Man Brand New Day and Sadie Sink and the idea that she is going to be Jean Grey, but it goes beyond that as well. This one from the Den of Nerds or Den of
Yep.
Nerd. Is
Den
it
of Nerds.
okay?
Josh Lucas, I think is the guy there. So I ran across this every once in a while. I kind of check in with what he's talking about. Um, and so this one is kind of the whole underlining, I guess, premise is that everything we've seen thus far in our 616 is a basically all the characters kind of have fallen off course, if you will. Um,
Well,
and
I wouldn't say it's quite that. I think
even
it's that they have been led down a specific path. I don't think it's pushed them far off of who they're supposed to be, but
okay.
yeah.
So I kind of took it as, and maybe I just didn't hear this right. They were, it's kind of what they normally, the path they normally have taken kind of got straight, kind of went askew a little bit.
Yes.
So things got delayed, for example. So mutants haven't really come into fruition like they should have.
hmm And I would say with the mutants, it's just that that was so I think maybe just to backtrack a little bit, and Den of Nerds did drop this in the middle of their thing as well, but the idea that the Earth 616, this MCU universe, has been set on its path very particularly by Kang, and that's not really what a prime MCU universe would look like.
Yeah. Now, whether they actually call it a Kang thing, in this idea, this theory, they may also kind of could say it's a Loki Sylvie that kind of
hmm
altered it. Maybe it's from
Or
that point on, or Kang.
the TVA, they might
Yeah, or
just say.
TVA. Sure. So either way, things are just like kind of suppressed or kind of just not quite right. And the whole idea is that this this kind of gets reset at the end of Secret Wars,
Hmm.
or into the next kind of mutant saga. But so let's see, where do I kind of start here? I would say again in this theory, Jean Grey, played by Sadie Sink, her powers are kind of starting to come around, maybe, or at least um, they're poking through.
Hmm.
Um, and what her role is ends up kind of being as her and Peter kind of end up being the ones to save. Now, I don't want to say this is spoilers. This is theories. This is just ideas. But
Yes.
for those that don't really want to know, obviously you're listening to the wrong podcast and you're wasting your time. But just warning here. So the idea that Spider-Man and that'd be Tom Holland Spider-Man probably,
Yes.
and Sadie Sink, Jean Grey, they will be the ones to kind of help people remember what their pasts were because in not in Doomsday, I'm sorry, on Battle World. Because when you get to Battle World in the comic, they all have kind of forgotten their past. They have just kind of accepted this to be their present day and their
Yep.
future, right? So, but Jean Grey and Spider-Man would be there to kind of help wake them up, if you will. And they do that by somehow Brand New Day. I guess they would kind of do whatever they want, but they will be coming back. At least Sadie Sink's character, we'll say Jean Grey again, is coming back in Doomsday's Secret Wars. Or I'm sorry, in Secret
Right.
Wars.
Secret
So,
Wars.
so she will be possibly one of those people that are on the life raft that escapes Doom and what he kind of does, and maybe Peter's with her. But
Hmm.
the idea is that they will come to Battleworld and help save and help everybody remember. So, did I forget anything?
Um, I'm trying to remember from early on in this what in particular he had talked about. Let
Oh,
me
same timeline was another idea. Like they're like Doomsday and Spider-Man are happening at the same time.
Yep. Which I think is a theory that we've kind of touched on before. That they would be happening relatively concurrently, hence why there's no Spider-Man, no Hulk in the events of Doomsday.
Yeah, I was trying to think of any other like advantages, disadvantages of how those if they're happening kind of at the same time.
Yep.
I don't know. There's too much to speculate there, I guess. So yeah, it was an interesting idea. I kind of I liked, I guess, how they have the life draft concept, if they eventually get there, and I like how she possibly could be the key to helping everybody remember, or maybe Spider-Man will. How was it again that he was not affected? Is it
So
because, go ahead.
in um in the comics, so Spider-Man was on the raft and Miles Morales snuck aboard or snuck across on the Maker's ship.
Hmm. Yes. So whether they get there by the same means, I don't know,
Hmm.
or they have their own separate ways of getting there. I don't know if we'll be
Yeah,
getting a
I
mech.
mean, Jean Grey
So
power is kind of a oh, she stumbled across her power in a time of need and that allowed her to save herself and Spider-Man.
right,
Is it's an easy kind of fix that way too if they don't want to be like, oh, they snuck aboard a raft or something like that.
yeah. Or maybe he does forget and she's able to help him remember.
Yeah.
Right. So what was kind of interesting also about that was where that kind of ends up with Sadie Sink continuing on as Jean Grey in this theory.
Yep.
Um,
Which I
and will
think is
this
fairly safe to assume if she is Jean Grey
I
that
would
she will continue on.
I would think so. I mean, she's a she's a hot no, I mean, yes, okay, she's hot. But that I mean, she's like a hot actor right now, right? She's kind of
Yes.
at the top of her probably I won't say at the top of her game, but she's definitely one that stands out. She very well could have an amazing career even after all this or during the whole X-Men thing. So, um, but I could see her definitely continuing. That's pretty easy to assume.
Yes.
And so she will maybe in the mutant saga, this could play out to be something that she remembers even then, like even
Hmm.
after Franklin. Again, we're assuming Franklin is going to be resetting everything, putting kind of
Right.
things back.
Franklin, Loki, whomever
Yeah.
it is.
So
It could be a combination of several different people.
right. And she may remember all that. And
Yeah.
so that could somehow come back to haunt her, to I don't know, who knows, in the Mutant Saga. I insert storyline there.
Yeah. So there are two things that I wanted to discuss with this because I do think there's a lot of very interesting elements to it. And I like the idea that if everybody does forget, definitely she and Peter somehow remember and they create a reason for that because I think that's a fun story element when they're like, huh, why doesn't anybody else remember what's going on here? Or maybe it's a case Peter doesn't remember, and we get that scene where his memories are unlocked and he interacts with Doom, but thinks that he's Tony. Something like that. I think there's some fun stuff you could do with that. But the one thing two things that concern me are uh, they have to be very careful with the idea that of saying this the previous 30, 40 projects are on a universe that wasn't really right, wasn't really true. And so we're going to just kind of ignore that. The
Yeah.
idea, like Kevin Feige is saying, or like the idea that it's going to be that 15 to 20%, sure. Introducing mutants just by doing that's a bunch. But for people who have been very invested through the whole thing, especially probably not the people who are listening to this podcast, because if you're listening to this podcast, you're at least familiar with the concept of how they just constantly reset the comic universe, and they're resetting it so that people can jump in easily to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's
But then,
just
and so it's the same thing though, really. If because people can then it's almost like a slate reset. It's a soft reset in the
it's a
sense of
soft reset, but you can't make it feel for people who aren't familiar with the comic concept that what they've watched previously was now kind of a waste of their time.
do you think they really will feel that cheated?
I think
And
some people definitely would.
and I know I maybe have said things that are would contradict what I'm kind of presenting as my point here, but I it's so it's hard for me to place myself in those people's shoes because I obviously what we talk about, every week, but I just can't imagine like if they can explain it as this is not the way this was supposed to be. This is the way it's supposed to be, and obviously the people are trying to understand that they're trying to reset it so that they can move forward in a different way and maybe a better way with like mutants and Avengers all together and dogs and cats loving each other and all that, it's all that, right?
Hmm.
Um, I would think that it wouldn't be that hard to swallow, especially in a universe like a comic book superheroes universe too. So,
Right. But that's the thing is it is a comic book superhero universe, but there's a lot of people who aren't familiar with how those work. And sure, it is fantastical, and it's probably an easier pill to swallow than say they were to do something like this with James Bond, for example, where it's like, yeah, it's fantastical, but it's supposed to be Earth
yeah,
and
it's
everybody is a real person. There's no superpowers. I mean, there kind of are, but
Would your James Bond point is I get that, right? It's easier to reboot a James Bond because they just kind of like people are kind of like, yeah, it's going to be a
well,
new version or something or
right.
whatever. But if it's the X-Men and Avengers and that has come together and it's this new universe, will the excitement level of that overthrow the frustration of I've just wasted the last 13 years of my life watching these movies?
I think that is a careful line to walk. And that's why I think it has to be done in a fairly tight and focused manner of they have to do a very good job explaining that Infinity War played out basically the same.
Yeah.
The events of Falcon and the Winter, or not Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but the Winter Soldier played
Like
out
just They said something else. Sorry.
But
Yeah.
Captain
Well,
America, Winter Soldier played out pretty the same, or something like that. You can't undo a whole movie in this. I think that's the, and I think if it's not laid out well, there's going to be confusion whether or not it does that.
okay. I will agree. I think if they can bring it home that it's not that like Infinity War or Endgame didn't happen. It just yeah, if you can somehow explain that it just didn't happen exactly maybe always like it. Not that it didn't happen, but it shouldn't have happened that way. Or
Hmm.
something like I don't know, Moon Knight or for God's sakes, Secret Invasion should not
Yeah,
have happened that way
right.
then it's sellable, I feel like, and people won't feel as cheated. And you if you can give enough hype level at the end of Secret Wars saying,
Yep.
"Hey, here's what's ahead of us,"
Yeah.
that will just overthrow whatever doubts and frustrations people would have.
Yeah,
So,
no, I think we've talked about this before, how you could end it in a way that would just get people super hyped for that. You do kind of the fly through of the new universe
see, I think you'd have to
and
be even bigger than that. I remember you talking about this, and it would have to be, I think, to sell it again, it's got to be bigger than just
bigger.
than, hey, here's this person, here's these people over here. As cool as that, I'm not saying that's not cool and a nice way to end it, but I think if you really want to make people excited about what's to come, you got to give them
You have to have
something.
some Easter eggs in there, but I think just, I mean, I think there's a level of excitement that will just naturally occur, especially if it reveals, if they can keep it under wraps and reveals a new X-Men cast. If they can keep it under wraps and all of a sudden we see Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen in New York City with Spider-Man as well. Um, and if we see, maybe we see a Green Goblin, we see, I'm
Yeah,
trying to think other characters. You would have to, you have to throw out your heavy hitters.
right. Thor
You
and Beta
can't,
Ray Bill or something like that. That
right. Yeah, you see Beta Ray Bill, which is an odd heavy hitter, but kind of true.
it's kind of a fun one, right? People have been
Mhm.
kind of thinking about it.
Yeah, but you do some multiversal, or like not multiversal, but cosmic things. You start at kind of that cosmic level, and then, yeah, I'm trying to think what's the character that as you're zooming in, so you zoom in, you start at the cosmic level, you see Beta Ray Bill, you zoom in closer to Earth, you
Um,
continue
Blue
through.
Marvel. Sorry, I really want Blue Marvel still.
Yeah. Well, you could show Blue Marvel kind of flying above Earth,
Right.
and then you go through, say, the X Mansion. You see some characters. This is all, I'm basing this on kind of the idea. You get to New York, you see the X-Men, or not, you see the Spider characters, you see some,
Hell's Kitchen stuff, or
um,
I don't know if they'd
that might be too
crossover.
small for something like this, but, and you see some Avengers, maybe, trying to think who would be like your standout ones, but do you then come to the Baxter building and now you have Franklin Richards and the family? They're in the Baxter building, the new Baxter building, and the doorbell rings. Who is at that door when it opens to get everybody super excited?
Mm. I know. Yeah. I wish I don't have anybody put in that spot, but like to end in that one moment that can portray this next amazing character, whether it's F4, whether it's more in the Spider-Verse, right? Or
It do,
um,
it doesn't yeah, matter what universe it is at this point. It's just
or whatever character set, I guess
yes.
it's, just whichever one. Yeah, I would see I think that'd be one way to do it. I like because you kind of I feel like you notched it up a little bit from your previous description of how you would maybe end this. Um, I almost was thinking like a battle as well, or like
Yeah, so maybe you have, maybe maybe it isn't the Baxter building. Maybe you start when you come down to Earth, you're in New York, you have a battle of some sort going on. You go past that, like the Avengers are taking on Hydra led by the Red Skull, something like
mhm,
that. That'd be cool. You continue down. through New York City. You see the spider characters chasing after Doc Ock,
Yeah.
and we see the new actor for Doc Ock. Then you continue to Xavier's School for Gifted Children, and there's a knock at the door there instead, and the new Xavier comes to the door, opens it, and that's the reveal of the new actor who's playing Wolverine or
Mm.
Magneto.
Or Sabretooth is there and punches somebody in the face. I don't know. That'd be
I
awesome.
mean,
Juggernaut just busts through. I don't know. Like, oh, having Wolverine and Sabretooth fighting somewhere out in Canada. I don't know.
I think fighting in Canada would be like, I'm on that. But
Then it can swoop to the
yeah,
exit the school and do that. Yeah.
okay, sure.
I don't know. Yes, I
Yeah,
see what you're saying though.
but I think having like the reveal of Wolverine is probably the big thing you'd have to do.
Mm, I I would agree with that. Of all the characters, yeah, that probably is the one. Oddly, that would be the one, right?
Yeah, everybody be very interested and excited to see who the new Wolverine is. Whether or not, now I would say whether or not Wolverine is a massive, like, he's kind of that key figure for the new X-Men stuff going forward, doesn't have to be. But that reveal of that actor, especially if it's like a Henry Cavill,
Hmm.
that
Yeah,
would be enough to get people real excited.
yeah, agreed. Um, Man, I lost my thought. Oh, okay. So real quick, I'm just trying to think as I was thinking of the idea of Jean Grey, Spider-Man, they have to at least Jean's got to get on the raft, right? Sorry, I'm going way back.
Yeah, potentially.
Um,
Otherwise, she just has to Jean Grey it.
right. I was thinking if they do have the raft, which I feel like they kind of have to have a raft.
I think they'll do
Uh,
that raft for sure.
right. So whoever that's going to be, we can maybe decide who the raft is going to be in a different podcast time. But I was thinking at least we got to have then.
Stay tuned next week.
Oh, we just got a new topic. Okay. Um, Sue Storm has got to obviously interact. I would think it's because isn't it her? Is it that's on the raft? I guess it doesn't have to be. I'm just thinking
So,
that Sue and Valeria, right, are on there.
so Sue, Valeria, and Franklin, the Thing, and Johnny are all on the raft, as well as Reed, etc., and a few other heroes. The raft breaks apart as they're trying to escape, and Reed is basically trying to reach out and save his family, the Fantastic Four, but fails to do so. So Doom basically plucks those characters out of the universe.
Yeah,
So
that's right. I forgot
mhm.
about that part. I should
Now
really read that comic. That's 2 weeks in a row now. I've kind of forgotten those things.
it's so good.
Um, I know.
Uh,
Uh,
but was thinking about the idea of, is it a situation? Let's make sure that I can remember it. I'm starting to actually become really on board with the idea of a two-film Secret Wars with like December and February release. And the first part ends, or they could do it with Doomsday, depending on how Doomsday is done. If the universe ends at the end of Doomsday, we should see some characters get blinked out of existence. And we should not see anybody get like saved. Nobody on a raft, anything like that. And then the beginning of Secret Wars is the reveal that some characters are on a raft.
I mean, so this potential middle movie,
The potential middle movie would be Time Runs Out. If there is, well, if they split Secret Wars into two parts. The first part's kind of Time Runs Out, where they're trying to race against time, race against Doom, to stop him from his plan of pulling all the anchor beings,
right?
like any universes, stuff like that. And then it ends, universe is destroyed. Start of Secret Wars Part 2, aka Battle World, that we see a raft, or we see a Fantastic Four ship making it to the TVA. Or not to the TVA, but to the Void.
Okay, so you're saying Doctor Strange time runs out, is technically the Secret Wars Part 1.
I could see that, yeah.
And then they do well, they've named it Secret Wars.
Hmm.
Well, I guess whatever, titles
But
can change.
you can name it like it can be Avengers Secret Wars and it can be Doctor Strange Time Runs Out.
Yeah.
So you
I
go Doomsday,
It's
Time Runs
confusing,
Out.
but not really.
Yeah.
It's confusing for, again, people that maybe aren't so involved with this.
Yes and no.
Because if it's Secret Wars 2, it's not 2, but it's Secret
Right.
Wars,
It won't be Secret Wars 2. Um,
the
in
Avengers
this
Secret
case.
Wars. Yeah.
Right. It'd be Avengers Secret Wars. So we go Avengers Doomsday, then we go Doctor Strange Time Runs Out, and then we'd go Avengers Secret Wars. And I think that could work.
I would love that, actually.
Hmm.
I feel like it brings justice to the story because I think it gives enough time to really expand
Hmm.
and to
And now if
flush
they
out the
do,
characters and
yeah, if they do Doctor Strange Time Runs Out, that should come out between Secret Wars and Doomsday without moving Secret Wars
yeah,
from the spot on its calendar. If they were to do Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Time Runs Out, and Avengers Secret Wars, or Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Secret Wars, and Avengers Battle World, then I think that's when you could split and have two kind of Secret Wars type things. But so much of that rides on where's Doomsday going to leave us?
right. And it's a 1 year gap, right, between the two
Yes.
at this point. So wouldn't that also then mean that whatever this, if Doctor Strange was going to be doing that, it would
Hmm.
have to be,
They would probably need to start filming soon.
yeah, like this month.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And it's
So
just no word of that. But I mean,
it's also been a massive project to film Doomsday for a
right.
lot of people. And now I don't think that they put necessarily Lord of the Rings did up, where that was filmed basically
Oh,
nonstop. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't think that they filmed a whole extra movie when filming Doomsday. Now, if they want to be clever, yeah, you tag a few things as Doomsday reshoots and have already shot some with Doomsday, you could maybe keep it hidden, except for the fact that like how contracts work and things like that.
right.
So I think that would be tricky to for them to actually pull off. Now, if they could actually pull that off and they figured out a way to make it work and keep it hidden, that'd be awesome.
I guess I would have a huge more a huger amount of appreciation
Hmm.
for what they just did and accomplished, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So it brings it up to a whole nother level.
Yeah. So that's why I think it might be more plausible that they split Secret Wars into two parts, where you have that, and that gets announced at when Doomsday comes out. Like
Uh,
at the end of Doomsday, they'll be like, see the rest of the story in Secret Wars Part One. Time runs out.
yeah. I almost prefer a Doctor Strange Time Runs Out
Hmm.
movie because I think it just if Doctor Strange is gonna be the person that we think he's gonna be, if it's
Yeah.
kind of saying that, if it's saying true to the comics, he needs his time and you need to develop what's kind of happening with him.
Yeah.
I think a little bit more. Otherwise, you're gonna have people going, okay, where'd he come from? What's he been doing? Where was he at?
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and I mean, if you're gonna split Secret Wars up, I do think you really need to split it into three parts so you can have a Secret Wars Tokyo Drift,
mm,
but that's just me.
yeah, yep. And
With that,
podcast is we'll
no,
do the wrap.
I was gonna say there was one other thing, and we've talked about it again a little bit before, is I'm hesitant to use too much of Kang and the TVA in this. So, as the idea of like Kang and the TVA have taken Earth 616 off its actual path because of multiple reasons. One, it's a TV show. It shouldn't be required viewing. It should be required viewing because it's great,
100%.
but it shouldn't be required viewing to make sense of the movie. And the other thing is Jonathan Majors. Now Jonathan Majors has started filming a new film, so clearly he's getting working his way back into Hollywood, whatever that might look like. But because there was such a movement away from Kang and everything like that, do you want to bring back up the Kang of it?
I think you just keep it with Loki and Sylvie, like, or just keep
Hmm.
it. It's. I think even Josh at Den of Nerds also said it's not gonna be. It's gonna. Tom Hiddleston has got a pretty minor role so far.
Yeah.
At least that's what he was hearing.
Yeah,
So
we've talked about that before
yeah.
as well. We talked about
And
that last week, in fact.
oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, that must have been Gerg. Okay.
Yep.
Um, it's yeah, he's kind of showed it's kind of shoved far in the background, a smaller part, and so. But you're right. You made some good points with that. Um,
Now, it's also a situation where these things exist. And to make the story make sense, you might have to just recap some of Loki.
yeah, I don't know. Like I have a hard time. Like, well, some people haven't watched it. Well, then watch the shows. If you
Mhm.
if you
No,
if you care, if you're gonna care,
but
then
yeah.
it's like getting mad when you do poorly on a test, but you didn't study for it.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. But a lot of people, and I would say rightfully so, show up to the Marvel movies for superhero entertainment. That's what they are.
yeah,
Now, they're missing out on half the fun of it,
right.
of diving into all these theories, pulling out all these Easter eggs, reading the comics. There's so much fun to that. I also know that that's not for everybody. So,
And they also
and
kind of get it in real life almost these days, anyways. So it's
well, and I was going to say this this actually loops nicely back to kind of the first thing we talked about with the Den of Nerds, where it was like, how do you handle the idea that this, if it's right, that this isn't the prime universe, this isn't the way the universe was supposed to be? Because again, it's a similar category of thing.
mhm.
How much do you expect your audience to know? And you know what? Probably you should give them more credit. They probably could
Yeah,
handle Loki and Kang reference just fine. It's does Marvel want to do that? I'm hesitant, but Loki and Sylvie, maybe. Loki, sure.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm done. I'm not gonna go down that. Okay,
There's a lot we could go down that path, but next week we will be back giving our life raft survivors, like the characters who show up in Battle World and remember how things were. So we're gonna put together a little list of that and come prepared with your own. Drop it in the comment section next week and let us know your thoughts in the comment section over on YouTube of these two theories. Do either of them stand out as like winners, or are they a little bit too off the wall? What works, what doesn't? Greg gave a few ways you could help support the podcast. Excuse me.
I
Greg
did.
gave a few ways that you could help support the podcast at the
He
very
did too.
beginning. And we appreciate everybody who is listening and checking out the podcast. If you enjoy this content, really do just share it with your friends. That means so much for us when we have more people checking out the podcast and more people engaging with it. And yeah, we'll be back next week. See you then.
Remember me. Bam.